in this season. Please don't do it without me. Don't do it without me. You gotta tell us yourself, Lord, whatever you're doing in this season, please don't do it without me. Don't do it without me. Come on, help me say it. Lord, whatever you're doing in this season, please don't. You gotta tell us for yourself. You gotta tell us for yourself. Come on, say it like you mean it.
Say it like you mean it, he said. All right. That's at least. Boy, this is a fried oysters. All right. I like that song. I don't know. It might be a little whatever you're doing, don't do it without me. Well, I tell you what, I love the song, but if God is sending some hurricanes, he can leave me out of that one. But hey, Doc, man, listen, I'm so grateful for y'all. I've been juggling a lot, as you see these last couple of weeks with some projects I got going on. So it's late, and the only people who are up tonight are really probably need to be tuning in, because I don't think this conversation and this subject has a time on it. I love what you said several weeks ago when you and KD was on here. I'm sitting here looking at some fried oysters. Man, I don't know who cooked those, but KD, without feathers and clucking, that looks pretty good. Plant-based lifestyle. I need to get on that because I'm eating meat every day. But we talked about changing the narrative, and that subject can never go anywhere because it's one that has to be talked about. It's one that has to be thought about because I always heard the story of the lion and the mouse, and uh, people say that the story would be different. Just depends on which version you hear. If we hear from the lion's mouth, then the lion's gonna be the top dog. We hear from the mouse's mouth, it's gonna be a totally different story. So, man, I want to, because I love celebrating those who I have known all my life, and we have lost contact for many years. But I have to. A lot of people don't like this. I'm not saying that you are I'm not trying to um, do anything but what I'm doing, and that's just let you know how proud I am. Because if I say it to you privately, I want to say it publicly because you, just like anybody, myself, could have got caught up, but you didn't. And even in these projects, I talk a lot about the issues. We're always talking about the issues. And if I'm ever in a conflict with somebody, I let them know real quick. Hey, where do you want to go with this? Are you a person who's going nowhere and all you're going to bring up is the issues, or do you have some solutions? So, you didn't say this, but I saw it. You a guy, man, who has some solutions. You have something to say to people, young people. I wasn't as I was pretty silly, but I didn't get it, man. I just wanted to do my own thing. I went to college late. I told several people. Do you remember Flintstone? He had a little character on there called Gazoo. Do you remember Gazoo?
Oh yeah, I remember Gazoo. Yeah.
Gazoo was like, why do you do that, dumb? You're just so dumb. But see, Gazoo, I was telling somebody today, I said, you know why Gazoo was on that show? Gazoo was a person who comes from, a highly intelligent place. I don't know why on TV it always shows that every alien is so much more intelligent than a human, but the human is intelligent than anything else on Earth. But he is there because he is messed up and he's trying to get it in good graces with God or whoever their ruler is. And he says dumb, and he's really actually a dumb in his where he's from. And see, man, sometimes I think that's the case with a lot of generational curses. I'm not calling anybody dumb, but I am saying this: we get stuck in something, and it's like over and over and over. So if we don't change the narrative, and I'm not gonna hold you long, you say what was just bless us with how can we change the narrative? What has to be done? What are some solutions? And all you nighttime people who gonna see this when we go off, please let's see some numbers because I would do 12 o'clock midnight because there's not many people doing it then. But we need something at 12 o'clock. But Coach, man, what is that? When you brought that to me, and I said, what are we gonna talk about? You said changing the narrative. Tell me what you were saying.
I think the biggest thing is we've got to quit minimizing first what our impact can be, regardless of the current situation that we're in. As you stated, I've been, coming from Paris, Tennessee, all we knew was Paris.
Yeah.
And literally we thought going to Jackson or Nashville, every now and again we'll go to Memphis.
Yeah.
It was big stuff.
Right. But
little do we know at that time, both of those cities were just a small speck on the map of what it is that we could actually see what we could also achieve and give us vision to aspire to greater things than what we knew on a regular basis.
Mm.
You know, I mean, it's nothing back then for us to think that Mr. Yoda used to run 7-Eleven.
Yeah,
That was big time stuff to us,
you ain't lying. I'm telling
you
you.
know.
Wow.
And I think when we stop minimizing our scope of thinking, stop minimizing what we can achieve, then I think you literally start the course for changing the narrative. You know, like anything, naturally we read, we listen, but I think changing the narrative starts with reading. It starts with listening. There's a difference between hearing and listening.
Mm.
A big difference.
Mm.
Not just in letters, but in meaning, in concept, in theory. A lot of us hear stuff, but we don't actually listen. Because when you listen, you start changing narratives because you listen with intent to commit an action. If I'm just hearing something, I'm just hearing it for the sake of, oh, you're in my vicinity and nothing else is drowning you out. So it really starts with listening and reading. I mean, it's two basic fundamental principles that we take for granted, just for the given fact that we're comfortable. You know, we've got a little bit more than what our parents have, and we think, oh, well, we good. We done made it. When in all actuality, we're still at the bottom of the mountain trying to just get up another inch, trying to just get up another foot so that we can actually just squint our eyes enough to see the peak. You know, I mean, we've both been on this world for 40 years now and traveled afar and seen some things that we shouldn't have seen and seen some things that we know if we were in that situation could literally change our outlook on life and change the narrative of our kids and young people in behind us. And at some point, we have lost that connection. We've lost that foresight to allow people, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. We don't allow people to see that change and how we have changed the narrative. But I mean, given, especially with myself and my circle that's around me, they know that my mindset is how do I impact, how do I change the course of young people's lives with what I've been through, with what I've seen.
Yes.
And but you got to hold yourself accountable. And at the end of the day, you know, just like I've talked to many people, once you start holding yourself accountable, then change really comes. Because you've seen where you slacked off as to where somebody impacted your life at an age that changed your narrative.
Right. Dominique, man, that's funny you say that because, man, I have really now. It's not everybody's business. Everybody got, one thing about being a preacher is I can't do nothing wrong. Well, I'm changing that narrative because see, I'm not Jesus, and I have things that really play me. Just it just made up just who I am. You know, it's just part of life. I take the crooked with the straight. But man, when you say hold yourself accountable, I have encountered so many people, man, and you might not even be able to answer because I guess you would have to be a person who shift blame or don't never hold yourself accountable. You know, and we could easily see that in the world today. It's like Derek Chauvin, and I don't know him. I just seen an act that he done that I thought was very demonic. I thought that, you know, I have never have ever tried to be some tough guy because I don't think that you know, a normal human being could just sit and do a like that for no reason. You have to be something. You got to have something in you, and then to not even want to be held accountable. What do you think it is in our community, because that's a whole nother level of not really wanting to be held accountable. And I'm not talking about criticism, I'm talking about constructively. Like, I've known people to get mad and people are just trying to help them. What does that look like in action? I'll ask that, because it's one thing I tell people, we just say something, like, be strong. Well, how do you do that when all you have been faced with is stuff that make you weak? How does holding myself accountable look like in action? And does that question make sense?
Yeah. I think holding yourself accountable literally looks like, how did I get here? Which is your current status, your current situation, your current relationship, with whomever it may be. How did I get to this point?
Mm-hmm.
And you start reflecting on how you've messed up, how you could have done things different, and am I willing to change?
Yeah.
So that I don't repeat those same behaviors. It's a good coaching and colleague of mine. What is his last? We call him Black. He said, "I don't take losses. I take lessons."
Take lessons.
Yeah, he take lessons.
Okay.
Because losing has such a negative connotation to it.
Oh man.
That is discouraging. So if you continually, and everybody's not going to have a Chicago Bulls, run, or Golden State Warriors run.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be times where a team is not going to be as good, and you're going to come out on the short end of the stick. And he said, saying that we lost that game or we lost this, it just puts you in a different mindset of, man, we lost again. This 10 in a row, we done lost again.
Right.
We're just a bunch of losers. But when you say it's a lesson, it makes you reflect and see, what can I learn from that experience? What lesson do I pull so that I can carry it over to the next game and make it a positive outcome?
Right. So
and how can I change that? And that's holding yourself accountable just in.
Right. I was talking to
But
you remember
I
also, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I was talking to a young lady earlier, and we was talking about the same thing that you and I, this project we're going to be working on together. And I asked her, why does it, like you said, such a negative connotation on things like losing? And trust me, I don't want to be a loser all my life, but I'm not going to blow. I'm not going to lose my mind if I lose once. Man, I'm telling you, I used to remember back in the day when we was coming up, that show, what did it say? Experience the agony. How did it go? It was Sports Center. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And see, I'm with that, man. I'm so sick and tired of people thinking that they have to be everything about the world says I gotta be, I can't make no mistakes. And see, that's a trick of the devil, man. I think, man, my biggest growth is when I made those mistakes and I was able to be a man and fess up to it, because, man, there's no growth in when you don't have pain. I've had to bump my head several times. I'm just, I am a person who God has just really blessed, and I'm steady trying to learn. Malcolm X said it like this: it's not, there's no shame in being a criminal. When the shame come in is when you continue to do it. Just continue to do the same thing that you've done, which you're always gonna do. And I don't give up on anybody, but I think that whole, if we could say, man, embrace, your mistakes, embrace, the good with the bad. Denzel Washington, and I say it all the time, in that movie Fences, had a good, man. The ideology of the movie and a baseball player who went nowhere and lived in the hood and the life that he lived. But he said, you got to take the crooked with the straights, man. And I'm learning. So if I learn to, hey, change the narrative and don't look at my mistakes as just like, like it's the end of the world. The Bible says this, man. Though if a man falls down, and I'm just gonna put it in layman's terms, if you see a brother or a sister fall down, you who are spiritual gently restore them. So I guess if so many people didn't act like it was like the devil to make mistake, and no, that's natural in our human makeup. Man, more people could grow from the mistakes that we make. I'm so excited, man. I see a lot of people in Paris, man, doing some good community work, and it's a blessing because one thing I know about the Black church, there's a stigma that is on the Black church that's not necessarily true, and that is, well, I'm gonna tell you what's true. We're not the leaders. You and I have spoken about the young man that I've talked to. He's been on here and got a wonderful story that I've thought about. I admire brothers like that. But man, when it comes to bringing people together, there's got to be something, I believe, that in the church that says, okay, for years and years, we've been, teaching one thing, but we've got to teach community, getting together, loving one another, teach the boys, not like what being a man is from the way we grew up, but what helped you? What did you took another road? Because I think if we try to be the same man that our granddaddy was, we're gonna be very frustrated because it's a different world, man. It's a different world. Man, I'm not gonna hold you because it's 10:24. I just I really appreciate your stance, but then, man, I see, man, I listen to how you frame your words and how one thing that you never let go, and that's a continuous, solution to come and help these kids who, may become marginalized, no father in the home, and that's something that you don't shy away from because you got folks in church who come from worse, and you think that they were born with a silver spoon. So when you portray a fraud, man, I don't think that helps. And I think a real thing that help us as a people, and it will be even more, profitable for a guy like you to come back home and talk to these children, because if they see, seeing is believing. But just, the fact that, man, listen, you can make it. You can make it. So what? You was born in the project. So what? That, it didn't work out with your mom and a dad. So what? Your dad died over, the way he did at a very young age. And I had to say that to myself. Man, one more thing that I want you to hit on, and then I'm gonna let you go for sure because I know it's late. I do something that you just said, and I gotta quit doing that. You put it in other words. I downplay myself a lot, and I'm starting to realize that's for me. And I say it's to keep myself, I guess, to remember. I don't need to be blowed up to be I'm not trying to be the next whoever. I try to keep myself at bay, but I think I'm going about it the wrong way because, depending on who you're talking to, some people could really think that I'm just, because I say, so it ain't nothing to me. And it's really not, man. I'm just trying to do my part in the world. But I think not believe, some people take it as not believing in myself, and that's furthest from the truth because, man, when you come from a little small town like we do and you don't see many people looking like us doing great things, it's not very hard to look down on yourself because you don't see much. I didn't see a whole lot. But man, that not believing in what we can do. And that's why, man, I want to make a commitment to you and everybody out there who really wants to try to make a difference in this world, who's not in it for money, it hurts my feelings, man. I don't know what people really think about me. I can't say that I don't care because I do, but I have got to get people, man, into this idea of like changing the narrative and rethinking. And I guess they think I'm crazy because I let them know I'm not asking for no money. I'm not, I'm just trying to see, are you aware that there's a problem? It's probably the reason why you was locked up. I've been there, man. And if you're not careful and not getting good, people like you around, people who can inspire somebody, man, these kids, they'll be in trouble. So, man, I thank you, man. I said I had wanted you to hit on that, and you can if you like to, because I'm gonna listen. But man, I can't, salute you enough for what you're doing. I know we all need each other kings now, and I'm with that because you're a king in my book when you care more about yourself. Because really, think about it. What do we really? I mean, what do I get out of what I do? And that's why I have to put up there. This is not for profit and all that. I'm not paying you. I'm not paying anybody who comes on our live. I'm just trying to bring awareness to a situation. My life is pretty decent. The Lord really blessed me. If I wanted some whatever I wanted right now to eat, because I've been trying to lose weight, I haven't ate nothing all day, I can go get it. So, man, it's not like that. I'm just here. Let me see how I can make folks mad today. That's not what I'm doing. I just know how the world is, and I want to make I want to do my part, in the area.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that
We got another El Ray. Can you hear me? El Ray just joined.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, Dominique. We're gonna figure. El Ray, what we're talking about, and I was just getting ready to let him go. We're talking about changing the narrative. Now we know what is said. We know that we may have come from humble beginnings. Dominique was raised over there by me, right down the street from Caledonia. I remember Dominique dropping me on my head because he's always been a big, strong guy. I always said I was going to get him back, but I since he turns out to be a great man, I'm going to leave him alone. But we grew up together, kind of, sort of, went to school together, and I'm proud of how he has taken this whole thing of, you come from this, so you ain't going to be, and he's taking that, man, and I'm not going to talk about the project we're doing right here, El Ray, but the solution part is what I like, that this brother has, really wanting to come and pour himself into a community that he's from. And there's some people who leave and never come back. They don't care nothing about Johnson Park. And El Ray, I often talk about you and how authentic you are, with your concerns, man. You got to have something in you to even bring those issues up. But Dominique, go ahead, and then we're gonna see what El Ray got to say.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and it's like I've always, once I started reflecting on myself and what kind of got me to the spot where I'm at right now, it's like I said, it's learning lessons. Mm-hmm. And then as far as affecting the community, I mean, if everybody hasn't taken the time out to watch David Makes Man, it's one of those shows that if you've come from where we come from, you're going to be able to relate. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of those shows that literally, I mean, I was almost in tears because that struggle of what that young man goes through from being in, somewhat of the projects, and then also having to go to school and play both sides of the fence. People don't understand how stressful that is. Like, you've got to put on a facade for this situation. Then you got to go back home and put on another facade.
That was me.
Situation. That's trauma and stress. Like, nobody can speak to that but somebody who's been through that.
Well, El Ray said he was living a fraud. Say El Ray. He said that was him. I'm just kidding, man. What'd you say now?
I definitely get what he's saying. That was once me before. You know what I'm saying? As far as um, being turned to the streets for just for survival and trying to
Yeah.
go to school.
I'm gonna lie.
Um, you know, when you go to school, most of your friends they come from a different household. So here it is. I come from a broken home, and you know, got introduced to the streets real early at a young age, and you know, I still went to school. Uh, you know, but when you in school, you know, for instance, if you don't have a place to stay, and you got you know your classmates, true enough, they have no worries when they go home. But then, you know, how could you
Do we lose you, Ray?
you gonna go after school, or you don't know how you're gonna eat at school or after
Wow.
school, other than eating at school? I never had it that bad, but I was in the streets simply because I had no other choice at the time. Um, you know, I had my mother was had got taken away. My father never been there. And so to go to school and to focus as a normal student is really is
It's ludicrous to be able to even say that I can focus
definitely
conditions like that. And man, I'm gonna tell you something. That's man. Hey, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this, man, because you really, man, it pierced my heart when you had told me that the first time. You didn't really bring it out, but man, I can imagine because man, now and then on top of that, you have certain people who are around. Now we all from Paris, man, and you have certain people who bad mouthing you, and you really just, I mean, if they'd have gave you a big hug, they would have done you well. And see, that's what
exactly
that's the
that's what
problem. Uh-huh. Go ahead.
that's definitely that's the problem, because man, I can't tell you how many people that's supposed to hold a name or hold a fake fraud image to this day never reached out to me. Never, instead of saying, let's go check on that kid. Let's go see how he doing. Knowing my situation, I mean, my situation was almost publicly. People know who I am. People watch me grow up, so they know exactly where I come from. But uh instead of coaching me, instead of making me feel like I had somebody, it was always negative things. Man, I can't tell you how many people would tell me, "You going to jail? Uh, you doing too much, or you doing, you know, you'll never be anything, or are you even in school?" Just simply don't know, and never had
Mm.
anybody say, "Hey man, how you doing? How you eating today? Uh." Is everything all right with you? Do you need anything? Do you need, you know, need a conversation? Do you need a hug? It was never that. It was always negative things to put me down even more.
And see,
That would turn
that's right here
anybody
in
into a
Paris,
beast.
man. That's
Yeah,
right here in
that'll turn
Paris.
anybody into a beast.
Mm, mm,
You know what I'm saying?
I, yeah,
Because I
yeah.
went
I
to school. I
understand.
went to school. My mom went to jail, and you got to think this. I know for a fact. You know, her reason to going to jail to was to raise us, was to so we could have and we could eat and we could have lights and we could make rent. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
because it ain't
saying?
like they
So,
got programs in the hood that can get you. They have options. They don't have that. They
but
don't have
what is that kid to do? Like
right.
what is he to do if he don't have that? Instead of saying, "Hey, you going to jail," or "Hey, you bad," or telling all the rest of the kids, "Don't hang with him. He's bad." And you know what I'm saying?
Man,
That's how it is, and that's how it was around here.
put myself in those type of situations because I grew up. I mean, man, we would not. I mean, hey, man, and that's why I don't understand people who try to act like they all that. But for me, somewhere you are a black male, unless you had a parent or parents who was not affected by the system themselves, then I mean, I mean, it was tough. So, I mean, when I hear stuff like that, I think about my own situation. And it really touches me, man, because see, now you're in a position to where you can be a blessing, and you ought not ever want a kid to feel like that, man. And here what hurts me, a so-called, was what you said, a so-called like a title, and I'm supposed to be somebody, but I'm saying that. Let me tell you something, man. I think people got me misunderstood. I don't know who people think I am, but I am really serious about this whole thing of California, Washington Court. I don't care who it is. If you are marginalized and you don't have the same things that some people have, the privilege to make it, I'm interested because I don't care what they say. We don't start off at the same level. There's a commercial, man, or something that I seen on Facebook. And if you're not careful, I know y'all seen this, but if you're not careful, it'll go over you because it just looks like it's a regular people, some kids playing. So it's a white coach, and he says something like this: if you was raised with two parents in the home, take a step forward. And everybody who had two parents in the home, take a step forward. If you don't know if you're going to bed hungry tonight, if you already know you can get your food from, take a step forward. If got two parents, if both of your parents got a car. So after he answered the question, he told the ones who stepped forward, who was all at the finish line, to look back. He said, "This is how life is. We don't all start ahead. There's some crooked stuff that go on to keep us like that. There's no way in the world, El Ray, that you should feel. It's one thing to be suppressed by the system, but then when you have, those of us who are supposed to bring joy and comfort and love and so and stuff like that." Oh,
And
man.
I never got that or felt that from
Yeah.
anybody, but maybe one or two close friends. And
Right.
I tell you somebody else that my grandmother, and it's like that with a lot of
Yeah, I remember your
you know,
grandmother.
broken homes. You got kids coming up in these without the dads, and sometimes without the moms. It seems like it falls back on the grandparents. A
Yeah,
lot
and
of a lot
see,
of people will tell you that, like, my grandmama raised me, and that's my mama, and or that's, what I'm saying, my granddad, that's my
yeah,
dad.
I know what you're saying. Exactly know what you're saying. I was blessed. My mother was one, but see, and then I'm not gonna tell the story again, but my mother, coming from, I mean, just the whole makeup of your whole situation, man. Hey, dude, you living right now. You ought to celebrate that. You and Nas, and I don't know your sisters. I got to, I don't even think I've had a conversation, but all of y'all, I need to get all y'all on the live, man, and just so y'all can talk about it, because it'll be
Oh
different
yeah.
perspectives. And then even Dominique, man, what he brings to the table. Because I'm gonna tell you something, man. Some people, they don't care about coming back. They don't care who their family is. They don't care about coming back and trying to do an Akon, and bring light and water to people who wasn't able to get out, because everybody wasn't able to get out like Dominique. Everybody wasn't able to get out like so many others who have done well. Some of
Right.
us, Dominique, our age, man, they in jail right now.
You know
So
what shocks me the most
mm-hmm.
is to come from where we come from, and everything I
El
set
Ray,
out to.
you come from, now listen, we was rough in our day. You come from that. How old are you, El Ray? Are you 25,
I'm
26?
I'm 30. I was
Are
I,
you?
I
Okay.
was back there. I was back there in the projects when Miss Donna Joe and Ron Wood was back there. Uh, Miss Debbie, Miss Martha, you know, and
Oh yeah.
So I was back there when it was jumping off, and you know what I'm saying. It's totally different now. So I got a, I
It is
got a
totally
chance to.
different now,
Yeah,
man.
I
Totally.
caught the end of it.
Yeah,
I
you
caught the end
did.
of it.
It
But
was
but once
totally different now, man.
once
It's
we got
crazy.
evicted, once we got evicted, once we got evicted, that's when it changed for me. That's when my world changed. I mean, I'm pretty sure it affected all four of us in some type of way, but
Right.
I took it in. Man, I could have graduated from high school. Here it is. Here it is. My mom's incarcerated.
Uh-huh.
Me knowing that she don't understand what she's going through or what's happening to her. Having to see her go to jail and stay. Not only that, I don't have a father in the household. So it's
Right.
just me. So now here everything hits me.
That's
Um,
another. Boy, that's so
you know,
dirty.
everything hits me. So here it is. I go to school. I finish out to the 12th grade.
Uh,
The counselor teacher came. So I was short. I think you gotta have what 24, 26 credits to graduate.
when I was in school, 8, 16. Well, I don't know, man. I finished like
Man,
all I had was English, and then we could leave school. You would, I think y'all did, and then they went that block schedule in my
they
last
came
year.
with the credit system. And
Uh
so
huh.
I had 18, no, I had 19 credits my 12th grade year. Not enough credits to finish. Not only the counselor teacher told me, and I never forget, he never persuaded me to go back to school another year. He never said maybe you could get into summer school and get these extra credits you need to graduate. You know what he
Mm-hmm.
told me and what he did to me?
What's
He
that?
he put me in GED school. So here it is. He said if you want to graduate with your class, you have to go to GED school, and it's mandatory because you're not 18 yet. So you have to attend this GED school every, like regular school.
Man, no help, no. And I'm gonna tell you something,
Man.
man. These people are not crazy. You talking about people who listen to highly intelligent people try to fool them all day. Yeah. Think about this. Have you ever, hardly ever seen Asian people in America's systematic racial caste system of jail and prison unless they are connected to the black community and they know more than likely uh, Asia, the continent, none of them are going to, they're not going to have it. You ever see Asian people, unless they got some dark skin, in America's jails? I think it's 2%. I have to go look at that number again. 2% of Asian, and see, that makes me so mad. They did nothing to try to help your mom. They did nothing. Man, that's just so dirty. But listen, can't hold a grudge, man. God really blessed you. Really
Oh yeah,
blessed
definitely.
you. And man, you're doing a great thing. What's your plan for the future in as far as like Dominique is going to come back, man? Just like, I mean, I'll have it in my church, whatever I can do that. Well, it may not, church is not very popular, but see, I changed the narrative in that too. What's your plan to make sure that children in our area don't go through the same thing or have some cat like me talking about don't hang around him, he could get you in trouble? What are you gonna do, since you know what that pain feels like, to make a difference in somebody's life who can't do it for themselves?
It could be a lot for one person. Um, to try because we can't save everybody.
No,
You know
you
what I'm
can't. You
saying?
can't.
And my thing is I want to be all the way right. I want to work hard every day to show people accomplishments and
Right.
show people, hey, look, I come from this. You can do this. Whether it's the same thing I'm doing now or whatever it may be. I do know, like, I'm learning more entrepreneurship. Um I'm knowing I'm looking at money different now. They never teach us the money system. They never
No.
teach these things. They
Mm.
always tell us to work
Get
hard
a
for
degree
somebody.
and run somebody else's business, but
Yeah, and
not the
so
science of how we can obtain wealth.
exactly. So here it is. If we only had somebody to say, hey, look, real estate is booming right now. Real estate is number one right now. That's a good hustle. Maybe you should go to real estate and get your realtor's license. I had my daughter mother, she did the same thing. But she had no clue about that because her mentality couldn't take her that far. She
Well,
couldn't
and I don't know her, but I'm gonna tell you this: her mentality is based on what, and I don't know nothing about it. I'm just assuming her mentality is always based on what she's seen, and she hasn't seen much. Then where's she gonna get that from unless somebody come into her world and change the narrative? So,
exactly. Simply
yeah.
all I was doing was buying smaller properties and not doing it on a relative level. But it's the same lane. You get what I'm saying? and it motivated her, and even wanted to have the idea. So
That's
now
it.
she's a realtor. She's closed up. She's closed on over 20 houses. You know what I'm saying? Most of the houses here in Paris. You
So
know,
that's your
so it's kind of
solution
like,
right there. There you go.
yeah, and it's
Invest in
and, you
that.
know, yeah, and that's what it's about. Like maybe you can have a simple conversation with this kid that don't have a clue to even make it without the the system,
Yeah.
and don't have the motivation to want to stay out of jail. You
Hey
get what I'm
man.
saying?
Hey, I'm proud of you, El Ray. You're doing good stuff. Listen, y'all, I'm gonna have to let Dominic have the last comment because I'm about to lose my battery, and I hate that. Hey, El Ray, thank you for coming on, man. You're a
Oh yeah,
blessing. We're gonna really shake some stuff. Because man, I got people. Man, I'll tell you off the situation. Dominic, last comment. Words and comments.
Oh, first off, I definitely like it means so much to me to just kind of hear El Ray talk about his situation because it's very similar, and with us being related, and we really haven't even had that conversation.
El Ray said,
Mhm.
It just
right,
warms
El Ray
my
said,
heart,
what is
man.
that? I said, man.
It warms my heart, man, because I mean, like literally the same stuff that he's talking about, and that 10-year age difference still ain't nothing changed
Man, that's
because it's the
crazy.
same,
Wow.
and I'm not saying that the whole system has to change. I think the biggest change has to come within our own community. But we
Has
have
to,
to
man.
be careful with people who are holding certain positions because they are not necessarily on our side. They're
right, right,
trying to appease and make it seem like, oh, well, we got one of them in there, so it ain't nothing that they can say.
Right.
right,
But I think there comes a point where we as a community have to come together. We have to pool resources together so that we can really make a change and affect the youth in a way that's not on just we're going to save 5 kids here. No, how about we save that whole entire class of 2023, 2024,
Wow.
right,
instead of just worrying about, oh, they live over here at Washington Court. Oh, they were close to Caledonia. You know, it's the, and I've recruited all types of people and athletes, colors, races, genders, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I notice more than anything is at some point there's a common ground where you have to have that person's best interest at heart, and you put them before you. And when you do that,
Mm-hmm.
you'll never lose that connection and relationship, and it's always going to be something special to them because you probably impacted that person's life at a time where they didn't know which way was straight.
Right.
right,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like I said, I've recruited kids from everywhere, and it's not one of those kids that I couldn't call on right now. And I say, hey, I'm doing something. You mind coming down? And oh yeah, coach, it ain't no problem. Just let me know.
Right. Right. And see where I'm at now. I'm not the picture of what a preacher ought to be. I would trust that no preacher in the world would, uh, like take my ideology on some things because I will say this: the streets is where it's at. Because if you're out there and you are helping, you can do. Man, listen, you can do anything you want to do, and you don't have to be a part. But the streets is where it's at. So way that Paris, Tennessee has been trained to look at preachers is not popular. I told El Ray that people like him are the leaders. I'm sure he's got. I think I've got 1,000 friends. I'm sure he's got double that. So, my thing is to not judge him. Or man, that's me. When they had that big old thing when they was tearing up them rapper CDs back in our day, Dominique, when Tupac and Snoop Dogg and Suge Knight and them was doing it good, and you had the Reverend, I never will forget it. Ice Cube said the Reverend Calvin Butts need to grow a pair of nuts or something like that he said. They was taking Dolores Tucker and them was taking those CDs, and I understand, man. I wasn't up there. They said a lot of black people getting killed and it's out of hand, but you can start right there. That's not the problem started. And man, we cannot look at our own kids. Tupac said, "The hate you gave, THUG, Thug Life, the hate you gave little F's, everybody. That was the thug life. Like you looking at me, and I'm just trying to tell you my story. That's where this pain comes from. You know, this whole thing of being raised and crack coming into the community and just totally, I mean, devastating the community. But you telling me, you know right from wrong. I mean, come on, man. And then you got kids who just want to be loved because we're human beings. It's naturally to want to be a part, but then you get shut down, you know, as a young black man. But then, El Ray, as a young black man, and ain't nobody looking like you except for your brothers and sisters. So, man, I want to get all y'all on here one day. Let me know when to be good. I need to talk to you fellas. PDQ, my uncle used to say, pretty damn quick is what I tell my members. Because they didn't know what it means. PDQ. What PDQ? Is he finna barbecue something? No, I need pretty damn quick. So whenever y'all get a chance, man, I want to get us on a Zoom so we can just do some real talking, saying some stuff that we probably don't need to say in a public way, because it's a lot going on, man. There's somebody else like you out there who needs to hear your voice. And Dominique, man, I think just so proud of who you are, what you're doing. I knew, you know, you can tell people like, well, I ain't gonna say this, but like, you know, Bernie Mac said a lot of stuff. He'd be a part of the cancel culture now if he was still out, because he said one time, I was, you know, he said he'd look at his sister kid and be like, my sister ain't doing a doggone thing with that kid. If they parent not, then let's be some men who will, because man, it's hard being a black man in America, man. It's hard enough just to try to make it and pay your bills. Then you got to deal with this race thing, like Richard Pryor said. Then I got to deal with somebody saying nigger. He's like, oh man, that just messed my whole day up.
Mm-hmm.
He calling me that, police riding through ain't speak to me. I mean, man, come on. I mean,
Well, I can't tell.
give us a little break, you know?
Man,
I mean,
it's bad. Paris bad, man. From all the way down from that down to the generation. Like these young boys out here, man.
they don't care, do they?
Man, it ain't even that. It's just, I mean, you could blame it on the music too, but they ain't got no daddies, man.
Yeah.
Like they don't have nobody to look up to. Like
Well, they know
I
what they
can't.
doing, man. They know what they doing. That stuff is not it's not an accident, man. That this music, I mean, man, it wasn't. I mean, back when we was coming up, it was popular to call women, you know, all that stuff. I thought it was cool, but ain't nothing cool about that, man. And then what I've
Yeah,
seen in the music today, that makes me concerned is you have these rappers. Well, I don't know if they're rappers, but they're musicians like Juice World. Man, I was listening to his lyrics and I was saying, that sound like me. Next thing you know, he dead. I think because of an accidental overdose, you know.
yep.
And see, when these kids see that and hear it, and then they see people dying, man, mental illness and suicide is on a rise like I'd never seen it before. Back
Did
when
you know
you
Kevin
heard
Liles?
somebody, huh?
Kevin Liles he offers that to his artists.
Kevin Liles, who is that?
He
That name sounds familiar.
Oh
Kevin
yeah.
Liles, Kevin Liles, he offered counseling to his whole staff. He
Hey
said
man,
he spent
you better
he
go
done-
get counseling. I go to therapy. I don't care if people say I'm crazy. You know, I might be crazy. All the trauma that you know you experience when it's not normal.
you ain't
Not
crazy.
have your father there, you know,
You ain't
and it's
crazy.
not normal, man. So,
You gotta come from something to even feel this way. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something you gotta feel. Like
but I think what we're gonna do, man. Dominique is got my mind on that. We're gonna change the narrative, brothers. I hate to just click off on y'all. I got about 2%, so I appreciate y'all. I didn't plan on being this long, Dominique. Thank you, man, for coming and doing this. El Ray, I appreciate you. Dominique, I'm trying to get up there tomorrow, man. I don't know because it's what 11 o'clock. And one thing I'm gonna start doing is when I'm with people, man, I'm gonna give you my undivided attention because I'm pulled in so many different directions. It's crazy, but I need to learn the importance of real situations, real people, because man, everybody's not cut for this. You know, everybody's not cut. So, brothers, y'all pray for me. I'll be praying for y'all. El Ray, come on by sometime. I need to holler at you. Well, not sometime. I'm gonna try to get up out of here if I can.
Okay.
But I really need to holler at you. I need to show you something.
Okay. All right,
All
Dominique.
right,
Yeah,
brothers.
if you come up, just let me know. We can get together and link up.
Okay.
We'll
I'm gonna
make
let
you.
you know whether if it get past a certain time, I'll just shoot you a text and let you know I'm not coming. But man, I will be up there in the next couple of weeks, and if you're available, I mean, we can go get a bite to eat. Or anything you want to do, you have my undivided attention.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, brothers. I'll holler at y'all later, man. Thank y'all.
All right.
All right, y'all be safe.
Peace.
That's how you too.